Today I want to do a little video on the MCA math test coming up next week on March 13th. I want to talk a little bit about the process and then also go through something called the student tutorial where it will walk us through the test a little bit and give you some hints and tips and some of the tools that they use on the test. Next Monday on the 13th, we're going to start testing right at 8:05, and I have set up some testing rooms right here. You can see lab 1, lab 2, so that's the two labs that we have in the media center. Business lab would be Mrs. Robles' lab, room 220, which is right next to her, and then room 306. So in order to make this go much easier, and we have some PSEO students coming in on Monday, I just went alphabetically. So you can see that Emily to Sam is in lab 1, Lyle to Paul is in lab 2, and so forth. So just make sure that you look at your last name alphabetically, find the place you're supposed to be, and then go to it. You do have to go to the lab that you're assigned because there are testing tickets inside there, if you remember that from 8th grade, where that's your ticket to get onto the test. So make sure you go to the right room. We'll start promptly at 8:05, 8:10. We're going to start getting people organized. Bring your headphones or earbuds so that you can use your own, and they'll get you started. There'll be proctors in the room to help figure things out, give you a few instructions, and then get you started. Do not bring your cell phone unless you want to give it up and put it up on the table. You can leave it in your locker if it's locked. That'd be great. All right, so going into the tutorial, I'm going to go through this kind of quickly, but if you do want to go to it, you can go to TestNav, Minnesota, Pearson Access Next, and you can take a look at this yourself. It's under Student Tutorials for the 11th grade math test. Just like the online tests you've taken in the past, the last one I believe you've taken was last year for the reading test. It's very similar as last year's. You're going to log on with that test ticket when you walk in, and once you get started, it's all on your own. This is a student tutorial, so usually you play the button and then it will speak to you and explain the whole slide to you. I'm doing it all at once so that way the person for your SSR advisor doesn't have to sit here and do it. You just have to play this video and I'll talk about it. So up here on the navigation piece, the right arrow is always the next slide or the next test slide also when you're taking your test. So when you walk in for the day, you'll see the username and password. That's where you're going to actually go ahead and put in your test ticket information. If you notice test audio is highlighted there, you have to check your test audio on the desktops before you log in. If you log in, then everything gets locked out. You can't get online, you can't get to any programs, you can't get to any settings. So you have to do that before. So plug your headphones in the first thing and test your audio to make sure that you can hear it if you'd like, and then go ahead and sign in once the proctor tells you to do so. Then it will say that you're going to take the test. There's a certain number of sections with questions, and the questions will also be up here on top telling you how many you have. The very first thing is code of conduct. It tells you that you can't accept anybody's answers, you can't give answers to anybody else, and you can't do anything or use any electronics while you're on this test. So once you first get started, it will talk about the section that you're on and how many questions are on that section, and then it will get you going on the test. Now the toolbar up on top, I wanted to get to this slide, left and right or back and forth. Then it tells you the test, the section, and the number that you're on. Review and bookmark, so those are for bookmarking. We used to call that flags in a different testing program. Some tools that we'll talk about here, and then make sure that your name is up here where it says S student. Make sure that does say your name so you get credit for taking this test. The review section, you can go and review any question anytime by clicking down, and then it will go right to that question that you're looking for. It tells you how many questions there are, how many you don't have answered, and how many bookmarks or flags, and they'll actually appear right here on the right-hand side as you see on this screen here. This is more interactive, but I'm not going to do most of the interaction pieces because you've already taken this test and you've kind of seen how things work. When you get to the end of a section, though, it will ask you to review your questions and make sure that you have all of them answered, because you can't go back once you cross that section line and set OK to the next section. You can't go back and change any answers. So double check your flagged ones or your bookmarked ones, and then make sure that all of your answers are the ones that you want, and then you can go ahead and hit end section and hit OK, and it will say fine, you can move on to the next section. So you get on to the next section. Sometimes you can stop a test if something would happen and we need to leave, or you get called away. We can sign out of TestNav early and it will go right back to where you started. But today what we're going to do is we're going to go to the end of the test and it will say that you've reached the end. Congratulations, and it'll have a green big button right there that says submit final answers. And you'll submit those answers, and then we'll get a score for you. So now what happens is it goes right onto the tools. So you log in, you do the test, you submit the test, and you're done for the day. We're going to try to open up the Commons in the gym a little bit. If you get done before SSR, you can go to some of the SSRs. If you get done after SSR and get in the second block, you can go to your second block then. But here's some of the tools up on top, and then your student, and then drop down menu underneath this, and there's some of the tools on the right hand side. Double check to make sure you know what each one of the tools does. There's a pointer, a notepad, answer eliminator, and calculator on there. The pointer, of course, is just what I'm using here. It will point to wherever you want. You can actually click your answers with the pointer if you'd like at any time. The notepad, you can actually type in thoughts, answers, maybe ideas into the notepad, and the notepad goes along with that question. However, you have to keep clicking the notepad to see what the notepad says. So a lot of times, many people might use the scratch paper on the math test instead of using the notepad, and that's perfectly fine too. The calculator. So the calculator is going to be a TI that pops up once you hit the calculator button right there, and you can punch the numbers here, and then you can enter in your answer and put it into the test and hit next. The answer eliminator, of course, just Xing out with a big red X. If you click it, it will exit out. If you click it again, it will disappear. So if you know there's a couple answers on that one that you just really know that it's not right, you can go ahead and click on those and get rid of them. All right. One of the things you can also do is highlight any text. Now this is part of a section that looks like a reading test, but even on some of the math tests, there might be a word problem, or there might be a certain phrase or a certain number that you really want to have highlighted. You can go ahead and highlight that by just pulling over it, and then this will come up and you can hit a highlight color that you'd like. Underneath the person over here, kind of like the settings right by your name, there's a few other tools: enable magnifier, show line reader, enable answer masking, and then change the background and color. So you can, if you have a hard time seeing things with your eyes, or maybe you have some eye issues, you can go ahead and change the color background and foreground, and it kind of has some different combinations that might work best for you to see better. So you can go ahead and click on those and change those for the test if you'd like. The magnifier is just what it says. It will actually magnify whatever section you hold this block over on. Then the mask tool, the line mask tool, this is mostly used for reading because you can basically block out everything except for a very small portion. On the math test, I don't think you're going to need to use that at all. All right. Over on the right-hand side, there are a few things. Button right here, you can see that it will actually play like a text to speech. So somebody will come and you can hear a voice read to you the shape of the floor is shown, and then it will go over the answers if you wish to. So if you play that, that's why you're using your headphones, and that's why you check your audio, because if there's a word that you don't recognize, maybe you can go ahead and play that word, and you might understand what the meaning of the word is by hearing it, not being able to read it. So that's an option. You can also change a little bit of the settings with the voice to a female to male, or the speed of it in which it will read. But really that's that text-to-speech on the right-hand side that you can use and focus on. And the big one is exhibits. On some questions it will give you some formula sheets. So if you're one that can't memorize all those formula sheets, this is a great place for you to kind of head to and use, and just double check to make sure you're using the right formula for the right question. All right, the next section on this student tutorial talks a little bit about some of the questions that you might see. So there's different types of questions. Of course, there's multiple choice. One of the things that shows over here is a scroll bar. Don't forget, just like in the reading test that you took last year, that you have to scroll down sometimes to see more of the answers or the question that might be down below here that you'll have to pull down with. So don't forget that. But multiple choice is very simple. Click on the letter that you think is the right answer, and then go ahead and hit next. Just like boom, like there, multiple choice. The multiple select, so which answers best describe, so they're looking for maybe more than one. depending upon what you're looking at. So make sure that you read the questions carefully and answer however you want. Drag and drop. This is interactive, so you can go ahead and put all of them wherever you want. Notice even numbers, there's probably a few there that are not right, correct? So you can drag them back and forth, and then when you think you have the right answer, then you can go ahead and click the right arrow, and that will solidify that answer for you. Marking objects, basically highlighting them, whichever ones that you wanted to. I didn't even read the question, so I don't know what's right or wrong. But you can choose any shapes you want, more than one. And fill in the blank. There, right behind here, is a box, and you can also go ahead and change your fractions and decimals, plug them in there. Number line, you can click on segments, and you can actually create and drag different segments depending upon the question that's asked of you. Function on a graph, linear, but then you can also, I believe, change that line however you want. If you have a positive or a negative slope, what if you want a quadratic? You can change different points to make the quadratic change, exponential and also absolute value. So there are some things that you will need to do with maybe rearranging or working on a function graph. And at the very, very end, it will say all questions are answered. You have 0 bookmarks left, and submit your final answers, and you've reached the end of the test. Just like that. Just remember that we're going to start right away as soon as we can on March 13th, which is the Monday. That's next Monday. And we will keep working. This is not a time test, so we are switching functions a little bit. Remember that we did say we were going to start with the ACT and go over a few videos and kind of give you a little dabbling with the ACT information. Switch to the MCAs here for Monday, and then when we come back from break, we're going to have some test prep sessions for the ACT in science, English, and math. And then we'll take the ACT on April 19th, or the ASVAB, depending upon which test you signed up for. Thank you.